Good afternoon, everyone. So I hope you've all been enjoying the day and our birthday celebrations. 10 years old, how quickly they grow. The days are long, as we've noticed today, and the years are short. How time flies. So my name is Gino Dwyer, as Fergus said. I'm cognizant that I'm already loud without amplification, but here we go. And I'm going to overview iCRAG's impact for the last 10 years. Easy peasy. Much like a child, iCRAG began as an idea, and I suppose that blissful ignorance of asking how hard can it be. But it really very was a theoretical baby, one which we had big dreams and hopes for, one that we hoped thrived and slept at night, and one that we hoped would grow up to have a very positive impact on this world we all share, and boy, has it. So bearing with me for a minute on my child analogy, one of the ways that we measure development is through milestones. So these quantitative impacts or measures that we can assess in order to detect how well we're doing, right, if we're doing well. And I don't want to overburden you with data and statistics for this presentation, but I do think it's worthwhile looking at some of these kind of easily identifiable wins over iCRAG's 10 years. So over the last decade, iCRAG has accumulated €187 million in funding in collaboration with 99 industry partners. This has allowed us to have over 200 postgraduates and postdocs flourish under an iCRAG umbrella, and flourish they did. Over the last 10 years, we have accrued over 1,000 publications. We've had many researchers be recipients of prestigious awards and accolades, and our global reach in general has been quite astonishing, touching people's lives in different countries, different climates, different cultures. If iCRAG was a child, we might call it an overachiever, right? Or we might call it a prodigy. Or if you're in the know yourself, you might say that iCRAG has good parents, a good family. And this is something that we've always kind of felt, this sense of family, of belonging, of supporting each other, of bringing each other up. And as we all know, to raise a child, it takes a village. And because we have done that from its inception, we have reaped the benefits of it. We have positioned iCRAG as a global geoscience research hub, coalescing national and international researchers alike under our iCRAG domain. We pride ourselves on our inclusion of bringing as many people along our journey as we possibly can. We pride ourselves on our interdisciplinarity, reaching across the proverbial aisle to shed a light on the broader impacts, the bigger questions. We pride ourselves on our infrastructure and providing state-of-the-art technologies to help our researchers thrive, and we pride ourselves on our international reach, acknowledging that we have to solve problems from a holistic perspective. We have set ourselves a challenge of delivering today while preparing for tomorrow, and we do this through getting top talent, by creating tangible benefits, and for creating future skills and solutions that are holistic. The aim of this is to create an iCRAG that is worth more than the sum of its parts, and we have been quite successful in doing that. In order to overview iCRAG, I want to look at its timeline, looking at a decade of research. Murray touched on this morning, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it, but just to give you a sense of it. So for the last 10 years, iCRAG has been performing groundbreaking research, oftentimes literally in the area of geoscience. So we started with the fundamentals or foundational geoscience based on the economic adage, if we can't measure it, we can't manage it. And as you can see, over time, we have adapted and changed in response to the climate around us, okay, both the literal climate and the political and social climate. We did a lot of data collecting and modeling, and have done a lot of work in mineral characterization and basins. And then as we progressed, we entered into new realms of looking at other resources, including things like peatlands and water. And as we move forward, we now pride ourselves in looking at the social dimensions, which I think has come across quite clear today. Okay? We see ourselves as very much a climate crisis-focused centre at the moment, trying to bridge the gap between climate change actually occurring and the solutions to those problems. So we have changed from this kind of foundational research centre into this transformative one, and it has been iterative in its kind of process. So I thought the best thing to do was to not kind of go into too much detail on any specific thing, but to take you through, I suppose, segments of this timeline and point out some of the, I suppose, the most tangible impacts. So at its inception, as we said, iCRAG was very much focused on the collection of data. This is the first time a geoscience centre had been established in the country. So collecting data and performing data analytics, building up our databases. In 2016, which we heard about earlier and we've seen throughout the day, we started the iCRAG labs at University College Dublin. And in these labs, we had the first of its kind scanning electron microscope for mineral characterization. This technology catapulted us into leaders in this area, and we continue to be so today. Given the expertise of the original PIs, which we famously saw in that photo earlier today, iCRAG in its early days and still now has done a lot of work in the Irish subsurface, both on and offshore. We have a lot of experience, in particular, in looking at the subsurface from a groundwater level, and we have pioneered the integration of data sets to produce 3D models for both local and regional groundwater, geothermal hotspots, and mineral characterizations. We also, because we had experience in exploration geology, have a history of looking at basin characterization, including things like hydrocarbons, giving us access to the amounts of hydrocarbons and resources that are available to us, enabling us to make information-led decisions on how best to use Ireland's natural resources, and particularly when iCRAG started in a very uncertain energy market. As we move into iCRAG's Middle Ages, this is where we see a kind of new era develop, and we get into the broader sense of geoscience. We're still looking at minerals. It's a big strength of the centre, but this time we're doing it under the auspice of looking at the energy transition and renewable energy. So we have done a lot of research in this area, looking at things like zinc deposits, and we're involved in the further development of Tara Deep and Ballywire, and the reoperation of a Galmoy mine here in Ireland. We're also involved in looking for lithium throughout the country, these critical raw materials that we crucially need now to feed energy, renewable energy systems, and critically batteries for storage capacity for renewable energy systems to exist. Internationally, we have also worked with partners in Africa to look at copper, cobalt mineralization characteristics in the African copper belt. Above ground, our researchers have blown us away, and that's the first of a few bad puns to come, with our wind energy research. Okay, we've delved into this new era where we're looking at or applying our capacity to map the seabed and things like that, and applying it to things like renewable energy. So many iCRAG researchers are involved in governmental policy documents in this area, and in 2021 we held a De-risking Ireland's Offshore event where we were able to showcase our capabilities in this area. Organically then, and again, a little kind of pun here, we naturally delved into other resources, including things like peatlands. And iCRAG is currently involved in a big project called AI to Peat, which uses artificial intelligence to create a peatland condition map to help us better understand this huge terrestrial source of carbon in the land of Ireland. And Ireland is in a very unique position in that regard, because when it comes to peatlands, we're almost like a living laboratory, and iCRAG is very much aware of that. We also do research in areas like water, which we have a very kind of strong history with, and a lot of iCRAG's researchers have been involved in assessing both the quantity and quality of Ireland's freshwater resources. We've often taken it to places that you might not associate with geoscience even, and bringing it into the health realm. So me in particular, I've done a lot of research of looking at the health impacts of groundwater usage in Ireland and forecasting what this looks like under different climate change scenarios. So a lot of the research done in this sphere is done in consultation with the Environmental Protection Agency and bodies like the Public Water Forum, so we get this direct policy pipeline, which has significant impacts. In our kind of most recent years, and we've said this a few times today, we've delved into the area of the kind of social dimensions or the social side of geoscience. And this is an extremely important area to help answer those really critical questions of what does a fair and just energy transition look like? How do we actually do that? Who needs to be in the room when we're talking about it? Who needs to hear these conversations? So iCRAG has very proudly hosted the Restore Summer Schools for the last number of years, where we have brought people from multiple disciplines into the same room to discuss Earth's resources from a multi-person perspective. The goal is to make it clear that when we're talking about Earth's resources, this is something that can't be discussed by just geologists or just people working in energy. This is a conversation that needs many voices in one room so we can find a consensus that's actually palatable and will actually be feasible in the real world. We're also doing a lot of research in climate, and I think you got a flavour of that today as well. We have a lot of expertise in paleoclimates, looking at the past, and we do a lot of research as well, looking at the AMOC system, and particularly how that responds to abrupt climatic change. And the AMOC is obviously extremely important for our weather systems here in the North Atlantic. So with this dualistic approach, it allows us to see kind of what has happened before, what were the consequences of that, and what potentially could happen, what positive feedbacks are awaiting us if we do go down this kind of dark road into specific anthropogenic climate change kind of parameters. So I think you can see, and this is just a stopgap tour of some of the, to be honest, the things that I was more comfortable talking about over iCRAG's 10 years, right? I am not a geologist, I would like to say, but Joe, it's just a small little insight into some of the stuff we've done, and you can see it has been, Joe, demonstrably impactful. Okay, we have kind of prided ourselves on having this kaleidoscope approach to geoscience, where it's not just the kind of hard rock geology, it's all these other little facets as well, like looking at a mineral inclusion that we saw many times today under an SEM. Okay, this colorful array of different kind of sub-disciplines within the geoscientific sphere. Okay, and we're good at research. Research is the meat and flesh of iCRAG. Research is our body, but ladies and gentlemen, I pose you the question, what good is a body without a heart? And to me, I think iCRAG's heart doesn't really lie within the research, it lies in other things that we have gotten snippets of today. To me, iCRAG's heart lies in our unique ability to convey the message of geoscience and our wider research with the public, our public engagement. So for the next few slides, I'd like to take you on a little journey of iCRAG's pulse. So the first thing we're looking at here is a series that was produced in collaboration with the BBC called Unlocking Science. This little docu-series hosts this juxtaposition of this rugged landscape and rough seas with this gentle but persuasive passion to make the world a better place. And anyone watching it would just be left with a sense of wonder and hope. Seen by over 500,000 people across the globe, this gives good insight into just how impactful iCRAG's communication message can be. In a similarly poignant piece, which we all got treated to at the start of this session, we have the Secret Sounds of the Sea, also done in collaboration with the BBC. And here we got taken on this journey of learning about the interconnectedness of the natural world with the human world, how a whale song can be detected seismically on land. So this piece, which features Professor Chris Bean, who is not only a world-leading geophysicist, but also, almost annoyingly, an accomplished concert pianist, gives us a kind of a new perspective of geoscience and geoscientists in general, once again kind of bringing you into this sense of wonder and hope. And it was just as good the fifth or sixth time I've watched it there a few minutes ago. Okay? To move away from the moody, eerie, poetic kind of ambience for a second, we're going to take a sidestep into where geoscience meets the digital humanities. And there's a sentence you certainly wouldn't have heard in a geoscience conference even 5 years ago. This strange-looking phenomenon here is a piece called Kabla, and this is a collaboration between iCRAG researchers and a visual artist. Here they have taken iCRAG's data for seabed mapping, which we use for wind energy development, and they have translated it into this otherworldly, interactive showcase of data. You can literally move your mouse around and move through this. So this offers a contemporary spin to science communication, definitely hitting an audience that maybe traditionally geoscience may not have actually found. But we miss the dark moodiness, so let's have a little step backwards. For the last, but certainly not the least, Inception Horizon, a celebration of subterranean karst. And you'll never hear those 7 words said in succession again. This short film is just wonderful if you haven't seen it. Here we have a camera following water through a karst system, and we're watching water as it does persistently move along the landscape in this kind of dark, damp, cavernous system, and finally taking a breath of fresh air as it emerges at a spring at the other end. For filmography alone, this is worth a watch, but what makes it extremely compelling is that this filmography is accompanied by a choir who have created their own bespoke composition of the same name to go along with it. So it is eerie and beautiful in the perfect balance, and really is just a testament to the creativity of the people who were involved in it. So much so, it won Best in its category at a film festival, right, which is an accolade, again, you may not have thought you would have heard from a geoscience centre. And it's this ability that really makes iCRAG remarkable. iCRAG creates impact creatively. It has this ability to take what, let's be honest, the mundane, and turn it into something extraordinary. We do this so very well. And it's something that we should definitely kind of celebrate. To me, is what sets iCRAG out in a league of its own. Okay, so now we have our body and we have our heart, but we need to have a brain too. Okay, so when we're not playing piano and singing and doing all that research, we also do a lot of brain things as well, and particularly trying to shape and mold the brains of the next generation to ensure that the iCRAG legacy lives on. So iCRAG has undertaken huge education initiatives because education is the best tool that we have to shape a better world. And iCRAG has advocated for geoscience across the country, inspiring teachers, inspiring students, co-developing curricula that will be used for years and years to come, making an active difference in this educational space. And as we heard from Elspeth earlier, promoting geoscience as a discipline that where everybody is welcome and the future is bright. So I think, or I hope at least, over the last little while, you've got an appreciation for just how impactful iCRAG has been these last 10 years. And Joe, not only have we kind of been consistently impactful, it has increased in breadth and diversity. So we've dreamt big and we've dreamt bold. We have made impacts across a wide spectrum in conference rooms, in boardrooms, in classrooms, and in living rooms. Joe, we endeavored to do our best and we have succeeded. So all through this presentation, I've kind of playfully referred to iCRAG as a child or as a person, and obviously it's not. iCRAG is people. Plural. Okay, we've had 10 years of friendships, 10 years of conversations, of consultations, 10 years of thinking outside the box, 10 years of asking ourselves, what more can we do? 10 years of pushing ourselves to do things differently, 10 years of creating a diverse ecosystem that didn't exist 11 years ago. At this stage, I should probably apologize because I've kind of wasted 15 minutes of your time because this is the only slide I needed to show. okay? Because when we're talking about impact, this is impact, and this is iCRAG at 10. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and now you're free to have your coffee.